This day and time. What happened today, years ago?
Some dates in history, they seem pretty ordinary on the surface, don't they? Just another day on the calendar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But when you dig a little deeper, some of them just carry this incredible weight.
Exactly. Marking these profound shifts, pivotal moments across continents, even centuries.
It's really quite remarkable how one single day, seemingly unremarkable, can connect these completely distinct but equally critical turning points.
And that's exactly what we're doing today. We're going deep on the 3rd of July.
Okay.
We're looking at three really impactful events that either happened right on that date or very, very close to it.
And the idea is to sort of uncover surprising connections.
Yeah.
Insights into leadership, maybe independence.
Precisely. Leadership, independence, those critical decisions that, well, shape nations.
And for this deep dive, we've gathered quite a bit. Lots of historical accounts, some recent academic research, plus our own, detailed notes on these specific moments.
So for you, the listener, think of this as your shortcut. You get to become really well-informed about these key turning points.
And not just the what happened, right, but the why. Why did it matter?
Exactly. Why it mattered and what lessons they might still hold for us today.
All right, let's get started. Where are we beginning?
Okay, let's rewind. Way back, July 3rd, 1775.
The American Revolution. Just getting started.
Right. The first shots had been fired not long before Lexington, Concord, Bunker Hill. It was all very fresh.
And you had these colonial militias besieging the British in Boston. Brave folks, definitely.
Incredibly brave, yeah.
Yeah.
But also, let's be honest, pretty disorganized.
Well, yeah, that's what the sources really emphasize. There was this urgent, undeniable need for, well, a unified command, a structure.
You couldn't fight the British Empire with a patchwork of militias, however courageous.
Exactly. They needed a single vision and, really crucially, a single leader.
So the Second Continental Congress saw this. They recognized the need.
And they made that pivotal decision.
They appointed George Washington, commander-in-chief of this new Continental Army.
And he didn't hang about, did he?
No. Wasted no time. Journeyed straight to Cambridge, Massachusetts. And it was right there, on July 3rd, 1775, that he formally took command. Pulled those disparate forces together under one banner.
And there's that traditional story, isn't there, about the Washington elm.
Ah, yes. The lore says it happened under this specific grand old elm tree.
Passed down through generations. But the actual historical evidence for that specific tree.
It's pretty thin, admittedly. More symbolic, perhaps?
Yeah, the symbolism is powerful. Regardless of the exact location, the act itself is what matters.
Absolutely. And Washington's challenge was, well, immense. What was his first job, according to the sources? What was top priority?
Oh, it was immediate and huge. Organize, train, supply. He had to somehow turn this collection of passionate but frankly untrained guys into a professional fighting force.
A force that could actually stand up to the British military might?
It was basically nation building on the fly, under fire, almost literally.
And talk about commitment. The sources mention that detail about his salary.
Oh, right. He refused one.
Yeah. Requested only reimbursement for his expenses. That says a lot, doesn't it?
It really does. A kind of selfless dedication. It just shows that, building something lasting often requires that personal sacrifice, that focus on the bigger cause. A lesson that definitely echoed through the whole revolution.
So, a foundational act of leadership, creating an army from scratch. Now let's jump forward. Different continent, different century, but another profound moment of national creation.
Okay, where to now?
Fast forwarding to July 3rd, 1962. Algeria gaining independence from France.
A very different struggle, but just as significant. Algeria had been under French colonial rule for a long, long time, since 1830.
And the Algerian War of Independence. That was brutal.
Incredibly so. It lasted from 1954 to 62. Pitted the FLN, the National Liberation Front, against France. The sources are clear about the devastating toll on everyone involved. Soldiers, civilians, Algerians, French.
And the pressure was building, wasn't it? Both internationally and inside France.
Definitely. France itself was deeply divided over the war. It was tearing the country apart.
So the path to independence really started taking shape with the Evian Accords. March 1962.
Right, that was the framework. And then came the referendum on self-determination, held in Algeria itself on July 1st, 1962.
And the result?
Overwhelming doesn't quite cover it, 99.72% voted for independence.
Wow, 99.72%.
Yeah. So just 2 days later, July 3rd, 1962, France officially recognized Algeria's independence.
The significance of that moment, it's hard to overstate.
Absolutely. The end of 132 years of French rule. A huge victory, not just for Algeria, but it resonated globally. A major win for anti-colonial movements everywhere.
But it also had major consequences, right? The exodus of settlers.
Yes, the massive and often a quite tragic departure of the European settlers, the Pieds Noirs, and huge political shockwaves within France itself, too. A whole new nation was established.
It's interesting, though, you mentioned the Evian Accords outline cooperation.
Yeah, that's a key point. Even with that agreement in place, the actual transition was, well, marked by a lot of violence and huge population shifts, displacement on a massive scale.
So it really shows that decolonization, it's rarely neat and tidy.
Not at all. It's complex, often painful. Deep demographic changes, social upheaval, it's all part of that process.
A really powerful reminder, then, of that long struggle for self-determination and all the complexities that come after independence is achieved.
Definitely.
Okay, our final stop on this July 3rd journey takes us to something much more recent and incredibly high stakes. We're talking 1976, Operation Entebbe.
Yes, the Entebbe Raid. A very different kind of event again.
It started with a hijacking, right? An Air France flight.
That's correct. Flight 139, Tel Aviv to Paris. Hijacked by members of the PFLP External Operations, a Palestinian militant group, and also German Revolutionary Cells, a far-left German group.
And they diverted the plane?
To Entebbe Airport in Uganda. And the Ugandan dictator at the time, Idi Amin, he actually offered support to the hijackers. He was complicit.
And a really crucial, chilling detail, they separated the hostages.
Yes. Israeli and Jewish passengers were segregated from the others. The hijackers demanded the release of dozens of militants held in Israel and elsewhere.
Negotiations went nowhere.
They failed pretty quickly. And there was a deadline looming for the hostages' lives. So Israel decided on an incredibly audacious military option.
Daring is an understatement. We're talking about elite Israeli commandos, the Sayeret Matkal.
Flying over 2,500 miles, mostly over hostile territory, under the cover of darkness, all the way to Uganda. The sheer scale and risk were enormous.
And the raid itself, it happened technically in the early hours of July 4th local time, but still July 3rd back in Israel.
Exactly. Time zones make it interesting, but the decision and launch phase fit our time frame. And it was lightning fast. They stormed the terminal building where the hostages were held.
Less than an hour, the whole thing.
Just about. Neutralized the hijackers, engaged Ugandan soldiers who were guarding them, rescued 102 out of 106 hostages. It was an incredible feat of military precision and execution, a classic Special Forces operation.
Absolutely stunning. And we have to remember the key figures involved. Yoni Netanyahu,
The commander of the assault unit, tragically the only Israeli commando killed during the operation.
and poignantly, the brother of Benjamin Netanyahu, who would later become prime minister.
Right. And back in Israel, you had Defense Minister Shimon Peres, Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. They were the ones who had to make that incredibly tough call to greenlight the mission.
And sadly, 3 hostages also lost their lives during the rescue.
Yes, a tragic cost, even amidst the success. But overall, it was seen as a resounding victory against terrorism.
A huge morale boost for Israel.
Definitely. It showed Israel's capability, its resolve, and internationally, it set a pretty stark precedent for dealing with state-sponsored terrorism, given Amin's involvement.
It became a textbook case study, didn't it?
Yeah.
Studied by militaries worldwide.
Absolutely. And that detail about the Mercedes.
Oh yeah, they used a black Mercedes made to look like Idi Amin's own car to approach the terminal.
Creating that crucial element of surprise, confusion,
Yeah.
just long enough to get the drop on the guards. Brilliant, really.
It really offers these powerful lessons, doesn't it? About high-stakes decisions, rapid response, meticulous planning.
And sheer courage in the face of terror.
So let's just step back for a moment. We've covered 3 incredibly different events, all clustered around this one date, July 3rd.
Yeah, spanning centuries, continents, contexts. George Washington taking command of a revolutionary army in 1775.
Algeria winning its independence after a long, hard war in 1962.
And then this daring hostage rescue mission in Entebbe in 1976.
When you put them side by side like this, what are the threads that connect them? What themes emerge?
Well, you definitely see moments of crucial leadership stepping up in times of intense crisis.
Right. Washington, the Algerian leaders, Rabin and Peres.
And there's the persistent struggle for national freedom, for sovereignty. That's clear in the American Revolution and Algeria's independence.
The power of decisive decisive action, too. Entebbe is the prime example, but you could argue Washington's swift move to Cambridge was decisive, too.
Absolutely. And how national identities are forged or maybe reaffirmed in these defining moments. These events became cornerstones of national narratives.
It really drives home that these aren't just dates on a page, are they? They're these vivid human stories. Courage, political will.
And just how history can pivot, sometimes quite unexpectedly, in a single moment or on a single day.
It really shows how these seemingly separate events, linked maybe only by the calendar, can still reveal these, I guess, universal truths about power, freedom.
And the surprising ways history unfolds. It's fascinating.
It really is. So here's a final thought for you, the listener, to maybe mull over. What if you looked at seemingly disparate moments, maybe in your own life or just in the world today?
And considered if they might connect in ways you haven't thought about before, beneath the surface.
Exactly. Are there hidden threads linking things that seem totally unrelated? It's something to think about.
A good thought to end on.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive today.
Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more history daily.